You know that old saying, right? That sometimes the sky just swallows people whole, or the earth simply opens up and eats them? Well, there's actually one specific place on our planet where people have claimed, for literally decades, that this exact thing happens. So today in this explainer, we're going to dig into the ultimate question. Is the Bermuda Triangle truly a supernatural danger zone, or is it just a deeply misunderstood stretch of ocean?
To really understand just how deep this mystery goes, we have to rewind all the way back to the year 1492. Now, what I'm about to share isn't the plot of some modern sci-fi movie. This is straight from the personal diary of Christopher Columbus. As he was sailing right near this area, he actually wrote down that his compass completely stopped working. Even crazier, he noted seeing a bizarre candle-like light just falling directly from the sky. It's a seriously eerie diary entry, and honestly, it planted the very first seeds that something strange was going on out in those waters. So, where exactly are we talking about? This zone sits right in the western region of the North Atlantic. If you were to draw a line from Florida down to Puerto Rico and then back up to Bermuda, you'd create this massive triangular area. And thanks to centuries of terrifying reports, it's earned some pretty sinister nicknames over the years. We're talking the Devil's Triangle and the Limbo of the Lost.
But how did it actually get its famous name? Well, back in the 1950s, U.S. media started lightly chattering about some bizarre activities happening in this zone. People were complaining about radios failing, compasses breaking, electronic devices just wildly fluctuating. But it wasn't until a writer named Vincent Gaddis published an article in Argosy magazine that the legend was truly born. He titled his piece, "The Deadly Bermuda Triangle." And man, ever since that article hit the newsstands, the name just stuck globally.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Centuries of Mysterious Vanishings. Let's map out the historical timeline that built up this terrifying reputation. We already talked about Columbus in 1492, but let's jump forward to 1872, to the ghost ship, the Mary Celeste. It left New York for Italy packed with passengers, vanished, and then was found floating a whole month later. Dinner plates and food were entirely untouched on the tables, but there is absolutely no trace of the captain, crew, or passengers. Wild, right? Then, in 1888, a ship called the Ellen Austin found an empty boat. The captain sent his crew over to sail it back to New York. A storm hit, the boat vanished, and when it finally reappeared, the boat was in perfect condition, but the entire crew was just gone. And of course, we can't forget the massive 1945 disappearance of Flight 19. This was a group of 5 fighter planes on a training mission led by a Lieutenant Charles. Their compasses failed, they radioed that they saw something burning below them, and then poof, they vanished without a single trace.
And the stories definitely do not stop there. Here is an absolutely fascinating one from a man named Bruce Garnon. He's one of the very few who claims to have survived an anomaly in the Triangle. Back in the 1970s, he was flying a regular route from the Bahamas to Florida. It's a 250-mile trip that should take about an hour and a half, given his plane's maximum speed was 180 miles per hour. But somehow, Bruce completed the entire flight in just 45 minutes. That completely defies the physical limits of his aircraft. And the absolute craziest part? When he landed, his fuel levels were virtually untouched. He actually wrote a whole book about this impossible flight.
Think about it. When you have missing people, untouched dinner plates, and completely impossible plane flights, human imagination is going to go wild. Without clear answers, people just invent their own. Pop culture totally exploded with explanations. Some folks claimed massive sea monsters were out there eating the ships. Others pointed to alien abductions, secret Illuminati conspiracies, or even an ancient underwater civilization pulling ships down into the depths. Look, human nature simply hates a vacuum, and our imaginations love to fill in the blanks with the most sensational ideas possible. So let's pivot and look at the hard facts in Section 2, The Data Exposes the Myth. Let's look at how modern authorities classify the Bermuda Triangle today. If you go do a quick search online, you'll actually find that this supposedly terrifying zone doesn't even make the list of the top 10 most dangerous regions in the world. No way, right? The US Navy doesn't officially recognize the term, and they don't even bother marking it on official maps. Even Wikipedia explicitly defines the Bermuda Triangle as an urban legend. So it's officially categorized as a compelling story passed around as truth, despite having little to no factual basis to back up its supposed danger.
To truly wrap our heads around this, we need a global baseline. According to Lloyd's List, which is a major maritime data tracker, the global casualty rate for shipping vessels is 1.8%. Ships get lost or suffer accidents everywhere for all sorts of reasons. That's just the normal, everyday reality of global ocean travel.
Now, let's compare that global baseline to the Bermuda Triangle itself. Out of a recorded 8,634 ships passing through the triangle in a specific data set, an incredible 8,632 made totally safe passages. The casualties? Exactly 2. That's right, just 2 out of over 8,000. When you look at it conversationally like that, the numbers completely shatter the illusion of this deadly vortex.
Which brings us to Section 3, Hollywood versus the Dragon. Let's talk about why this myth is still so famous. Let's compare the Bermuda Triangle with another mysterious zone sitting on the exact same latitude, Japan's Dragon Triangle. Now, the Dragon Triangle has almost identical stories. In 1945, an aircraft vanished there. Right after the pilot radioed, "The sky is opening up." In 1980, a massive British ship called the MV Derbyshire completely disappeared there without a single trace. Yet almost nobody talks about the Dragon Triangle. Why is that? Because Hollywood didn't make hundreds of blockbusters about it. The publishing industry didn't churn out countless paperback thrillers about it. The fame of the Bermuda Triangle is, for sure, largely a product of Western media and entertainment.
It really just comes down to the massive economy of pop culture. The harsh reality we have to accept is that conspiracy theories, aliens, ancient cities, mysterious disappearances, they sell millions of books, movie tickets, and documentaries. Whole tourism industries thrive on these myths. Real facts? To a lot of people, they sound like a boring school lecture. Hard data and statistics just don't sell movie tickets. The legend is kept alive artificially simply because the economy surrounding it is too strong to let it die.
Okay, let's finally dismantle the mystery in Section 4, the real science revealed. Let's tackle that whole compass issue that confused Columbus all those years ago. Compasses naturally point to magnetic north, right? Not the true geographic North Pole. However, along a very specific path called the agonic line, they actually do align. And for years, this specific line passed directly over the Bermuda Triangle. If a navigator doesn't compensate for this sudden shift in their readings, they are absolutely going to get lost. It's just science. What about those creepy ghost ships, like the Mary Celeste? Well, when investigators look closely at historical records of abandoned ships in this region, a much more human element starts to appear. Take the Mary Celeste. Its lifeboat was actually missing. It is strongly documented that a lot of these so-called ghost ships were actually the result of heavy insurance fraud schemes. In other cases, a real, terrifying physical emergency threatened the ship, forcing the crew to evacuate into lifeboats that were subsequently lost at sea. So it's not supernatural at all. It's either human deception or human tragedy. So how do massive ships just sink without a trace? We have to look beneath the ocean floor. The Triangle region happens to have vast fields of methane hydrate. When this methane gas naturally erupts, it travels upward in these massive bubbles. As they mix with the ocean, the water's density drastically drops. If a ship happens to be sailing directly over this when it happens, the water literally can't support its weight anymore, and it drops instantly to the bottom, like a rock.
And what about planes being knocked out of a seemingly clear blue sky? In 2016, a team of scientists at the University of Colorado analyzed satellite images of the Bermuda Triangle and made an incredible discovery. They found bizarre hexagonal-shaped clouds hovering right over the ocean. Now, these aren't your normal fluffy white clouds. They act as literal air bombs. They can produce highly localized, intense microbursts of wind hitting speeds up to 175 miles per hour. A sudden blast like that, it can easily force a flying aircraft right down into the ocean in a matter of seconds.
So when you put all this hard data together, the mystery basically just evaporates. Dr. Karl Kruszelnicki over at Sydney University spent years extensively analyzing the area and the data. He definitively concluded that the vast majority of these incidents are simply due to human error, bad weather, and totally unpredictable natural situations. Combine that with the fact that the Bermuda Triangle is one of the most heavily trafficked maritime and aviation zones in the entire world, and by pure probability, accidents are bound to happen. Which leaves us with this final thought. We have the data, we have the science, and we have the clear evidence that the Bermuda Triangle is really no more dangerous than any other busy stretch of ocean on Earth. Yet the myth persists. So I have to ask you, why do we always prefer a thrilling mystery over the boring facts? What is it about human psychology that makes us want to believe in sea monsters and alien portals, even when the truth is staring us right in the face? It really makes you wonder about the sheer power of our own imaginations. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.